Prank calls can be funny, though they can sometimes be hurtful or even exploitative. Notwithstanding these potential negative outcomes, it's hard to imagine a kid being thrown in juvie for making an obscene call. The 1967 landmark Supreme Court case of Jerry Gault examines one such scenario in the context of a minor's constitutional right to due process. When Jerry Gault was 15, he was accused of making a lewd prank phone call to his neighbor, Mrs. Cook. Gault was arrested and taken into custody after Cook filed a complaint that same day, June 8th. The authorities didn't inform Gault's parents about his arrest or detention. After finding Gault missing, his mother eventually learned of his whereabouts from a friend. When Mrs. Gault went to the juvenile detention home at which her son was being held, she was informed that a juvenile court hearing was to be held the next day. Although Gault's arresting officer filed a court petition on June 9th, neither Gault nor his parents were served with it. The hearing turned out to be an informal one in which no witnesses were sworn in and no recording or transcript was created. Mrs. Cook wasn't even present, and the judge basically asked Gault some questions. Afterward, Gault was taken back to detention for a few days until his release. Upon his release, his parents were informed that a second hearing was to be held on June 15th. At the second juvenile court hearing, officers filed a referral report that neither Gault nor his parents saw. The report identified Gault's charge as lewd phone calls. Like the first hearing, no record was created, and Mrs. Cook was again absent, despite Mrs. Gault's request otherwise. The judge sentenced Gault to juvenile detention for 6 years, even though an adult convicted of the same charge would have received a 2-month jail sentence and a $50 fine. Because state law didn't permit appeals in juvenile matters, Gault's parents filed a petition for a writ of habeas corpus in the state superior court. The court rejected the request, and the state Supreme Court affirmed the lower court's dismissal of the request. The Gaults in turn petitioned the U.S. Supreme Court, which agreed to hear the case.